Fran, you on?
Yes, sir.
We got perfect timing.
You've seen that Mary's not going to be available tonight.
Yeah, I saw that. All right, so we're all set then, right?
Yeah, we have a quorum. 1, 2, yep, 3.
All right, so tonight is September 10th, 7 p.m. for the regular meeting of the Brookfield Zoning Board. And first thing we're going to do is review the minutes of the previous meetings. I wasn't there, so can someone make a motion or review?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the prior zoning meeting. What was the date of that? 8/13/20.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Fran?
Yes, as I believe it or not, this month's been very quiet. There is nothing on the enforcement report at this time. Everything that's because it's been so long. Issues that have come about, I have handled through a phone call or knocking on people's doors. Things have been really good, knock on wood. I do expect that to change in time, but as of this moment, there is nothing actually to report. So,
All right, good. Did everybody read 3C, the executive order? And we're going to discuss it later. It basically says that the outdoor dining and a lot of the executive orders are going to continue through November 12th. So if you haven't familiarized with it, we're going to talk about it at the end in the in old business outdoor dining. All right, so we're going to go on to continue public hearings. First one is 100 Candlewood Lake Road, application Z-20-64. I don't think there was anything new that was coming forward, right, Fran? It was just that they were closed in wetlands.
wetlands closed the application at the last wetlands meeting. They have not voted on it. I don't know if any representative is from 100 Candlewood Lake Road. The plans have been revised to accommodate or whatever wetlands had wanted. There was nothing major building wise. It was more or less wetlands issues. And they've been addressed from what I understand. Again, wetlands has closed that public hearing and they have not yet to vote on it. So I'm not sure. I don't see anybody here from Malone and McBroom or whomever was representing the application. I don't know if you want to close it or continue it and have a representative here. Someone should be here, my thought, but.
You think someone should be here in order to close it?
Well, I think someone should be here to explain whatever changes, but I mean, that's up to the commission. I mean, whatever the commission feels.
Wait, you know what? Why don't we do that? We can at least keep it open. I mean, wetlands hasn't closed their end, so it's not like we can even vote on it.
Wetlands did close their public hearing portion of it. They haven't voted.
They haven't voted, right? So I mean, like we can close, but we're not going to vote on it until we hear what wetlands decides, anyways.
Correct.
So why don't we just continue it out to the next meeting?
Yep. Okay.
Does anybody on the commission disagree with that? Kurt, I can see you talking, but I don't hear you. I see you're off of mute. Can you talk?
Can't hear you, Kurt.
I don't hear you, Kurt, and you're not muted.
Let me try to go out and come back in.
You're very low now. Maybe turn up your mic.
Hold, please. How about now?
Gotcha.
There you go. Yep.
All right. Someone put it on automatic. It wasn't me, man. I think that's a good idea to keep it open. I did read what the inland wetlands minutes, and they were changing stuff about the flow into the wetlands because that's what they were interested in. But I don't think like Fran said, nothing substantial for us. to worry about. But might as well keep it open until they make a decision.
I agree. This way, we're not pressing our numbers and our timing.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll keep it open, Fran.
All right, I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing, 100 Candlewood Lake Road, application Z-20-64.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, so we're gonna now move on to 4B, which is the proposed regulation change, application Z-20-66. And we can, is there anything else that we needed to hear on this from the commissioners?
Yeah, we have to open a public hearing, I believe.
I thought this is a continued public hearing.
Which one is this? I'm sorry.
Proposed regulation Z-20-66, 4B.
Oh, 4B, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is the one that they went back to the planning commission and explained more, and then the planning commission sent us a letter about it.
All right, so I just need to read that one in. All right, hang on, let me find it. Z-20-66.
Do you have it, Eric?
I'm looking for it. I got the 76. Do you have it? Do you have it before you, Kurt?
Yeah, I do.
You want to read that memo in?
Sure. I'll paraphrase some of it because there's a lot of words. Say memo from Diane Eng on behalf of the Planning Commission dated August 26, 2020, regarding application Z-20-66. And the Planning Commission had a meeting on August 20th. They discussed informally the above caption application for a zone change. And they included an excerpt about informal discussion. The parts that, there was two parts to the zone change, one being the required acreage and the second one being the density. So these are the two things they said. While no motion was made, the commission had the following comments and concerns. First, with regard to 3.14C1, the size of the CGN property eligible for multifamily development being reduced from 5 acres to 4 acres, the commissioner had no concerns, calling this proposal reasonable. With regard to 3.14F2, increasing the density of 8 units per acre to 10 units per acre, the commissioner's comments and concerns included first bullet, the possibility of increased traffic on Route 202. Though Attorney Mizuko and others believe the majority of vehicles will opt for using nearby Route 7, the Super 7 bypass. Next bullet, impact on the schools. While the commission supports multifamily development as indicated in the PCOD, it was concerned that the developer could not provide concrete information on the ratio of 1-bedroom units to 2-bedroom units. Mr. Sproviero, the property owner, did indicate, however, that he is willing to work with the town and is not against increasing the number of smaller new units. At this point, the plan is for 40 units, approximately 40 units, though no market study has been done to determine how many 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom units would be constructed. The aim is to provide several amenities, including a pool, to make a more of high-end development. So that basically boils down their two comments and the two aspects. And then there was a letter from West Cog dated, did we already read this one in? Maybe not.
I believe that was right in.
Yeah, well, it's just no concern to them anyway. And that's it.
All right, do I have a motion to close?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Hold on, Ward.
Oh,
Ward,
Ward, something?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Ward Mizuko here. I represent the applicant. I'm not sure if everyone remembers the material from the presentation a month ago. I'd be happy to just go through it quickly if you like, or if you think that everybody has it, then I'll.
Does anybody need Ward to go back through the material?
No.
No, I'm okay.
And I apologize, Ward, is there anything in that last memo that we just read in that you want to highlight?
Well, if I may just take a moment,
Absolutely.
there are two parts to the application, and when the Planning Commission issued its first report, it didn't, it had questions and didn't have all the background. So I went to their meeting, explained to them basically what I explained to your commission, and that resulted in the updated report that Commissioner Timmerman just read. I think the important point is that they don't have a problem with making essentially this one parcel in the CGN zone eligible for multifamily. And although there were some concerns about increased density, I would respectfully suggest that if the commission sees fit to approve these reg changes, we'd have to come back to this commission anyway for approval of the exact site plan. And at that point, the commission would obviously have input on the unit mix and level of amenities and all the things that would be important. So I did want to just make those points, and happy to address any questions.
Any questions from any of the commissioners? All right, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to close the public hearing on proposed regulation change to application Z-20-66 for section 3.14 C.1 and F.2.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And just so the audience knows, we'll probably come back to this after we get through the rest of the agenda, and the zoning commission will talk about it.
Thank you very much for all of your time on this.
Absolutely, Ward. So if you want to stick around online, I know it's not as interesting as it might be, but I believe that we're going to get back to it, discuss it.
Thank you, I will.
Excuse me, Eric.
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know Darren Overton just joined the meeting. He's from the 100 Candlewood Lake Road project.
Oh, all right, on the Wisconsin, I mean, on the Huckleberry?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I make a motion to go back to item 4A, application Z-20-64.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so would the applicant like to discuss briefly the changes?
Sorry for the delay in getting on, Eric. So we went through the inland wetlands review process. They had hired 3 review consultants as part of that process who submitted a number of different comments. We've addressed all those comments to date, and the 3 consultants have confirmed that we've addressed their concerns. The Inland Wetlands Commission closed their public hearing, and the information that we submitted to the Zoning Commission are the final documents that were submitted as part of the wetlands review process. Majority of the changes were related to the wetland impacts themselves and the mitigation associated with that. And we also made changes to the stormwater management as part of the engineering review. So the main part of the stormwater management was changes to the underground storage. We changed from a concrete retainment type system to an underground perforated pipe storage system due to the limited separation to groundwater. We do have a liner for those systems. So because we couldn't meet the separation from groundwater to allow infiltration. And the soil testing that we did on site showed that the soils were not very conducive to infiltration anyway. The other change was the hydrodynamic separators that were used previously were a Contec type of concrete vault unit. The third-party reviewer in the wetlands approval process preferred the ADS type units, so we switched to those, which is basically a plastic HDPE type of chamber. And then the other significant change was that For the well, actually for all the watersheds, the reviewer wanted us to meet the stream channel protection requirements, which is taking the proposed 2-year storm flows and dialing them back to the existing 2-year storm flows. So that was something that was not required in the local regulations nor in the DEP stormwater general permit that we will need to file. But it was an additional request by the reviewer that we had to change the design for and have met that requirement now. So I think that was the majority of the changes. Oh, one other thing I'd like to add is as far as the wetland restoration or enhancement, we did add some significant plantings on the plan as part of restoring some of the existing wetlands that are out there. A good portion of the wetlands that were flagged, particularly within the development area of the existing school, and to a limited extent, a part of the baseball fields is mowed lawn area. It's actually flagged as wetlands because there's wetland soils there. So as part of the new project, we've proposed wetland plantings to enhance those wetland areas, which will no longer be a mowed lawn area. So that's the majority of the changes. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
The commissioners have any additional questions? Okay, I think we have no additional questions, but we're going to still plan on leaving it open just because of the date on wetlands, because they haven't decided. And then as soon as wetlands decide, we can close this application. You don't have to be here for us to close it.
I understand. So yeah, I expect you're going to keep it open just to get the report from inland wetlands once they make their decision.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Fran, when is the next inland wetlands meeting?
Monday night.
Okay, so it's definitely before our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so at the next meeting, we should be able to have that report and then go ahead and close it at that time.
So that's fine. Yeah, I agree with that. The next meeting is the 14th. And if for some reason they don't decide, their next meeting is the 29th, which may push it into October for a decision on your part. But we've relayed that schedule to all involved, and that's our understanding.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. We are now going on to 5A, 19A, Elbow Hill Proposed Zone Change Application Z-20-76. This is a regular meeting of the Brookfield Zoning Commission. At this point in our agenda, we have scheduled a public hearing concerning the application of zone change Z-20-66. And that is for proposed regulation change. Yep.
76.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the top one, right, 76. That's proposed for 19A Elbow Hill Road, proposed zone change to go from R40 zone to I1 zone. We'll open up the hearing by reading the legal notice of the hearing. The legal notice was placed on Brookfield's website on the date, August 26th. And it says it will take place remotely via Zoom conferencing. Please view the agenda for dial instructions. And that is for both 11 Robbins Lane Z-20-75 and 19A Elbow Hill Road Z-20-76. And that's Thursday, September 10th at 7 p.m. The application was received by Brookfield Zoning. Public hearing is only one aspect of the approval process and is for the purposes of accepting factual information and data bearing on this application to allow expression of opinion by interested parties. Subsequent to this hearing, the commission has 65 days for the close of the public hearing in which to render a decision on this proposal. The final decision may be in form of approved, the submitted approved with stipulations or denied. And under the new executive order can be a 90-day extension is available. After reading into the correspondence received by the commission relative to this application, we'll ask the applicant to present the application in detail. The presentation will be limited to 45 minutes. The chair will then entertain questions of clarification concerning the applicant's presentation. We'll hear from those who wish to speak in favor of the application, followed by those who are opposed. Comments must be limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public will have one opportunity to speak during the segment of this hearing. May also submit their concerns in writing during the public hearing. During the segment, the commissions may ask additional questions. The bylaws of the commission allow only for the presentation. Similar positions in succession preclude the intermixture of comments pro or con. All questions and comments must be directed to the chair. As you're recognized, please state your name and address so your comments may be legally recorded. Please be assured that everyone will be given the opportunity to speak. However, the commission is most interested in hearing factual information relative to the application. In view of the time constraints placed upon us, we ask your indulgence in not reiterating comments previously presented. After public comments received, the applicant will have the opportunity to comment, and the time will be limited to 10 minutes. Any questions? All right, we have Fran, I don't actually see in my packet the email from WPCA, the memo from Westcog, the opinion memo from Attorney Beecher, and
I can read those.
And for the record, commissioners here tonight is Eric Cook, Kurt Timmerman, Francis Kwok, Chris D'Elia, Leslie Ruggiero, Tony Fernandez, Antonio Fernandez. Am I missing anyone? No. Go ahead, Kurt.
Okay. This is a letter from Chrissy McPadden of the WPCA, Friday, August 7th, 2020, regarding 19A Elbow Hill Road. It says, "Hi, Nina, your 7/31/20 email regarding the proposed regulation change did not have a meeting date, but I wanted you to let you know that the property at 19A Elbow Hill Road does not have approval to connect to the municipal sewer, as it is currently in the sewer avoidance area. Please let me know if you have any further questions. Have a great weekend." And then there was a something from Diane Eng, Land Use Administrator, on behalf of the Planning Commission, dated August 26, 2020, regarding the same application, zone change from R40 to I1. Please be advised, a regular meeting of the Planning Commission held on August 20th, 2020, the commission discussed the above caption application for a zone change. An excerpt as follows, and I'll paraphrase. A motion was made by D. McDonald to send a memo to the zoning commission stating that the planning commission gives a favorable rating to the proposed change, allowing the current use to remain. M. Butau seconded the motion, which carried unanimously. And also on the same one, present was Attorney Marcus. Oh no, that was Attorney Marcus. All right, that just explains the change. And then finally, not finally, let's see. Oh, there's two more. One from Thomas Beecher, Attorney Beecher, Tuesday, August 11th, 2020, to Nina Mack regarding the zone change application. "Hi, Nina. I reviewed this application for a change of zone from R20 to I1. This is pretty straightforward application, and granting this application is completely within the discretion of the commission. The rationale for requested zone change submitted by the applicant is reasonable. The property bounds the I1 district, and the commercial zone is across the road. The I1 boundary lines would not be out of whack, so to speak, if this property was added to the I1 zone. In addition, this property also bounds a multifamily development, so this is not the case where a property is surrounded on three sides by single-family homes in a residential district. While the commission can draw the line where it desires, I suspect that 21 Elbow Hill Road would seek a similar change of zone in the future if this application is granted. Again, the commission has complete discretion to grant or deny the application. The commission should also take a look to see if the zone change is consistent in some way with the POCD, or conversely, whether the request runs completely afoul of the POCD. Regards, Tom. And then finally, to Nina Mack from Kristen Flogberg, from Westcog, dated email dated August 5th, 2020. Thank you for submitting the attached referral to Westcog. The opinion of Westcog staff's proposal is of local interest and with minimal intermunicipal impact. Therefore, it is not being forwarded to adjacent municipalities, and the regional staff is making no comment. So that's all the correspondence that I have. Oh, we can't hear you, Eric.
A rare time I mute myself. Would the applicant like to present the application?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may, it's Neil Marcus. I'm here on behalf of Peter Sullivan, who's the property owner, and Cesar Suarez, who is the current tenant using the site. The commission obviously is aware of some of the history here because we had a discussion when we appeared before you in response to a notice to cease and desist, because the current use of the property clearly is not allowed in the RA40 zone. My client was surprised to find that his property was zoned RA40. They had no idea, or I shouldn't say had no idea. They had little idea that that was the case when they acquired it. And that's probably because the historic use of the property has been and still continues to be what more of a construction yard type of use. This parcel was part of the Oak Meadow condo site. And when Menino Construction was building Oak Meadow, they were using this site to assemble equipment, store construction material, etc. All of that was allowed in the RA40 zone because it was all incidental or accessory to the ongoing construction on the site. So when the site was substantially completed by Oak Meadow, and this, when its site was completed, the condos, and the subject property was basically surplus, it was sold, and the buyer just continued to use it, as I say, as it has historically been used. When we got the cease and desist order, it became very apparent that the proper way to address the infraction was to change the zone of the property to something that's not only more consistent with the use, but in this case is more consistent with the neighborhood. And we refer you, or I refer you, to the application itself, which spells out the rationale for the requested zone change. Obviously, the parcel we're talking about is 1.88, almost 2 acres rounded. And it's on the south side of Elbow Hill Road, and it's west of Route 202, which is, of course, the major commercial highway through Brookfield. The parcel is bounded on the east, as Tom Beecher points out in his letter, by property that's already in the I-1 zone. Across the street is property that's already in the CGS zone. And to the extent that we talk about the third site, the third leg of the site, that's Oak Meadows condominium, which is multifamily. So Tom correctly points out that a consideration that the commission would usually give is what's the proposed zone, what's its impact going to be on the contiguous properties. And here, there's only one parcel that is still RA40 in use and in zone as you go up Elbow Hill Road, which brings us to the old question of, just where do you draw the line? And that was a discussion that we had before the Planning Commission last month when we made the presentation there. And that's basically what we're going to ask the commission tonight to do, is obviously to redraw the line. But if you look at the zoning map of the town, and if you, I'm looking at a very small one, so I've got my magnifying glass, but as you go up Elbow Hill Road, the CGS zone line ends almost at our property line. So the CGS property of the zone line on Elbow Hill Road, if you drew a straight line, would come across our westerly boundary line, almost in a perfectly straight line. And zoning generally tries to use geometrically appropriate forms if they can to draw lines. It's usually a goal of all the towns that we deal in to make zones regularly shaped blocks where you can. Now, clearly, you can't because of historic uses of property, so you have to zigzag a little bit. But here, the historic use of the property would lend itself to drawing a straight line along the westerly boundary of the CGS zone, and that would incorporate this property completely. At the same time, if you look at the adjacent uses along Federal Road, they are consistent, along 302, I should say. They're consistent with the type of uses that are allowed in the I-1 zone that would be appropriate for this just under 2-acre site. So the site currently is being used consistently with what's in the neighborhood. So we meet a couple of the criteria. We touch on some of the important zoning considerations that have to be given. And again, I'll refer back to Tom's letter. It's correct. You have discretion, but in applying your discretion, you have certain considerations that you would have to normally be required to make. So we conclude in our rationale that the predominant uses adjacent and across the street are all industrial and commercial, and that the residential zone is really not a predominant zone in the neighborhood. So to that extent, we think that we have covered covered most of the grounds. At the Planning Commission, which we had, as I say, a similar presentation, I listened to, a couple of the comments of the zoning commission members. And one of the comments was, who would be likely to build a single family residence on this site? And I thought that was a good point for the commission, this planning commission, to focus on. In coming up with their recommendation, they analyzed not only what I had presented, but went like one step further and said that in reality, this is not a residential site, and it's unlikely to ever be developed under the RA 40 uses. So to that extent, they then came to a conclusion that was that the zone change was appropriate, the amendment. So that's the application. I mean, no zoning application is simple, even though every once in a while we say this is a really simple application. But this application is pretty apparent on all fours. I mean, it really meets all of the zoning criteria that we usually can consider before we even come to the commission. As I say, I was actually surprised when I saw Fran's original cease and desist, because quite honestly, I had no idea that this was in the residential zone. And the commission, of course, has recently done a significant overhaul to zoning, both in coming up with the new districts, writing the new regulations, and adjusting the map. And I am of the belief that had we appeared before the commission when you were adopting your current map as part of the rezoning, had we come to you at that point and made a pitch saying, we think you ought to draw the line on our westerly boundary, there's a good shot that the commission might have done it at that point, which is to say, I'm not sure anybody really gave any thought as to why this property is still residential. And to a certain extent, you guys will know better than I do what was in your own minds. But I'm not sure any of you realized that it was a residential property because of the way it's been used and the way it's situated over all these years. So to conclude, our petition is just to say that we think that this makes sense. It makes sense, as I say, from a number of different perspectives. And if you view the application and analyze it from all of those perspectives, it does make sense. The other thing, of course, is if you look at the uses that are allowed in Article 4, the uses that are allowed in the CGS zone and in the I1 zone, you'll see that most of them do require special permits. This is any use of the property, including the current use, will have to come back to this commission for consideration. So there's a lot of control, and you're not doing something by amending the zoning map that's going to open up the floodwaters, the floodgates to the floodwaters. So what I think you are going to do is to correct an aberration in the current map and do it in a way that makes sense for the property and is unlikely to have any really negative impact on any of the neighbors, because quite honestly, it has existed like it currently exists for a number of years without generating a lot of negative reaction. So that's the request, and I'm glad to answer any questions that the commission might have. Thank you.
I have a few myself, but to address your one question, I remember I was part of the committee that was redoing the zoning, and we did look at that, and we did talk about that property and where to cut it off. I mean, where do you stop? Where do you go? I mean, the argument's before us now, but just to let you know, that property did come up in the consideration down that mountain.
I appreciate that.
Now, is this going to be strictly used for a nursery?
Right now, it'll be used in exactly the same way. I mean, I can't tell you that somebody in the future won't buy it and come to you with a different use, but from my client's perspective, the applicant, that's all we're doing. And that's the only reason we're doing it.
Okay, and what's going to be the hours of operation of that nursery?
Well, they would operate, I haven't pinned it down yet, but generally during the week, the nurseries open up anywhere from 7 to 8 a.m. in the morning, and they're usually closed by 4 or 5 in the afternoon. I mean, this is not really a retail store like an Agway that might stay open a little bit later. But your hours are going to be regulated by your special permit, obviously. So, we're not looking to be out of the ordinary. Basically an 8 to 5 operation.
Is there any way you can get me those numbers? And it's more of not people going in and out, but it's machines running, because there are residences around there.
Yeah, no, again, I'll get you those numbers, but I think that in reality, that's all the special permit anyway. That you'll actually set those numbers. And if we come to you and we say, we want to operate till 6 o'clock and you think it's a 5 o'clock, that's what it'll be. It'll be 5 o'clock. I mean, essentially anybody who comes before the commission with a special permit is dealing with the issue of accepting reasonable conditions based on what's in the neighborhood. So you're right. With Oak Meadow next door, we don't want to operate equipment late in the afternoon. So I would say that
or 7 a.m.
Yeah, 8 o'clock may be the better hour. If the commission were to set the hours from 8 until 5 or 8 till 4, that's reasonable. That's what these operations are.
And are you planning on putting any buffer where the residential properties are?
We're required to. Yes, your regs do require buffering.
Are you storing any fuels there? Because it's in the aquifer.
Storing any fuels? I mean, the vehicles, obviously, the vehicles have fuel tanks. If we do store fuel, it would have to be above ground with proper aquifer protection. So the answer is we'll only store minimal amounts of fuel to be used on the site, and only if we can meet the aquifer regs.
But you have no idea if they're planning on storing any type of larger fuel tanks
No,
to fuel them?
No.
Are they planning on doing any wood cutting there?
if you mean processing of wood, like
Talking about like
Oh.
cutting it, splitting it?
not significantly, no. No, I mean, there may be some material that
What
comes in.
is,
that
what
has
does
to be
not
dealt with.
significantly mean?
They're not in the business of selling wood. That's not their business.
I just want to know about the wood cutting, because the wood cutting, especially the machines that use it to split it, to cut it, those are loud and noisy.
Yeah, and again, what I would say is that those, to the extent we're going to operate any, I hate to say none, because every once in a while I pull a chainsaw out of my garage and use it around here to clean something up. But the fact of the matter is that they're not in the business of either processing or selling firewood, for example. But if material comes in that they have to cut up to get rid of, to handle, they'll operate a saw. Again, I would suggest that if we get to the point that we go to a special permit, that the hours of operating any type of equipment to cut wood would be very limited. Again, it could be, middle of the day for 2 hours if you need to do it. That's the type of thing that I agree is site specific.
Is the applicant online where he can answer if he's even planning on doing any wood splitting or cutting there?
I don't
Besides
think
what, to cut the bottom of a tree just for landscaping purposes. I'm talking about actually bringing in lumber, logs, and cutting them and splitting them for firewood.
Well, let me ask Fran Lally, because he's been out there. Fran, you've observed this site. Have you seen any of that go on at this point?
Not at this time, Neil. No, I was
Yeah.
out there yesterday. All
They don't do
basically
that.
what I saw was a storage of evergreens and trees. It was more of a nursery type
Yeah.
use.
That's what-
Because
And that's what's going to be there.
as you know, Neil, like the wood cutting, the wood splitting is kind of one of those things that pop up in Brookfield a lot. So,
Tell
this
me
is
about
one of my concerns. Yeah. The other
I have a lot of experience with that.
is is there going to be any crushing, screening, or processing of earth materials on there?
No.
Okay.
Fran, have you noticed any of that out there in any of your trips?
No, but that's something I'm watching. So
Yeah.
obviously in the residential zones right there.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. These guys are going to just operate. I mean, they're more they're landscapers. It's the type of nursery stock that you would use to take out to your house, Eric, and do landscaping. That's the type of stuff.
Yeah,
No,
I know, but I also know on the flip side that when you have landscapers that do tree work, they tend to bring back the longer logs and they change it into firewood and all that. So that's what
Yeah,
I'm.
they don't do that. They don't do that. That's not their business, and that's not their intention. And clearly, as I say, that would be a step to a site plan approval.
Right, and that's why I'm asking these questions. If we put these as a step, is your client going to be okay with these stipulations that we put in there?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Does any other members of the commission have Raise your hand and we'll go. Kurt?
Just a comment. I drove back there and talked with a couple people in Oak Meadows, who the area that directly abuts them, and asked about the noise and everything. And they said the noise they hear doesn't come from there, actually comes from the other industrial properties, or CGS, industrial properties right on Federal Road. So it seems like they're a pretty quiet operation, the subject property.
Okay, good. So, I mean, we're looking at not allowing them to abridge that then to make it more for the neighbors. Anybody else on the commission? Okay.
Again, Mr. Chairman, if I can just say one thing, this is only for the zone change. I mean,
He has to come back.
obviously they do, and then any stipulations that the commission wants, that's when we can implement those stipulations.
Right.
So, this is
Yeah,
strictly,
and if I can, I'm gonna just key on off of that for a second,
Sure.
Fran. You've met the operators there because you've already talked to them about what's going on, and you've got a sense of how they operate. My sense is that these guys are people that play by the book. They play by the rules. They don't want to create problems, and if they know what they can do, that's all they're going to do. I've not sensed that they have any other intention, but I defer to you know them probably better than I do at this point.
yeah, no, I've got no complaints from the
Yeah,
site at
good,
all. It's
good.
just, they've been quiet, so.
Fran, I do have another question. I know that came up because we have that the sewer's not there. Is that something that's necessary for the I-1 zone, or is it limited because there is no sewer? No?
Well, hold on. Can I answer that?
Sure.
It'll
Neil.
limit the future, a different use in the future that might require a sewer or public water, whatever. But for this use, no, they don't need it. They to the extent they have any real need for bathroom facilities, it would be a pretty small septic system.
Mr.
They don't-
Chairman, if I can just add something to that. I did follow up with WPCA on that question, on that comment of Christine McPadden's. What she had indicated to me was if they did want to connect to the sewer, they would have to propose a plan. Currently, there's no plan submitted for them to connect. Again, it would be subject to an approval from WPCA, not saying that they couldn't connect, but it would be subject to an approval from WPCA and an approved plan. So
All right, and we can deal with that whenever they come back with the use.
definitely, yeah.
Okay. Does the audience, anybody in the audience have any questions or clarification? I see nobody. Does anybody want to speak in favor of this application? Does anybody want to speak against this application? I don't see anybody on any of those, right, Fran? That needs to speak? All right, at this point, then, can I have a motion?
Make a motion to close the public hearing on 19A Elbow Hill Road proposed zone change. Application Z-20-76 from an R40 zone to an I-1 zone.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. So any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now we're
Thank
going
you.
to, you're welcome, Neil. All right, now we're going to move on to item 5B, 11 Robbins Lane, application Z-20-75. Before I read it into record, Fran, are the applicants here? You're muted.
Yes, we're here.
Here.
Okay. All right. Before I just read the whole thing, I just want to make sure I'm not reading it for my breath. All right, so this is a regular meeting of the Brookfield Zoning Commission. At this point on our agenda, we have scheduled a public hearing concerning the application of Lisa Gregorio, is that correct?
D. Gregorio.
D. Gregorio, for application Z-20-75 for a 790 square foot accessory apartment at 11 Robbins Lane, Brookfield, Connecticut. The same members that were in the previous one are still here. Is Tony still on? Oh yeah, there you are. All right. Sorry, it's like looking at the Brady Bunch. I gotta find everybody. The legal notice, I'll read the legal notice, and it is following public hearing will take place remotely via Zoom conferencing. Please view the agenda for dial instructions. And this was posted to the Town of Brookfield's website, August 26, 2020, that we'll hold a public hearing remotely via Zoom. Meeting ID 128-947-054 on Thursday, September 10, 2020 at 7 p.m. This application was formally received by the Commission on August 13, 2020. The public hearing is only one aspect of the approval process, and is for the purpose of accepting factual information and data bearing on this application until our expression of opinion of interested parties. Subsequent to this hearing, the Commission has 65 days from the close of public hearing, and then an additional 90 underneath the public executive order. and which to render a decision on this proposal. Final decision may be informed, approved as submitted, approved with stipulations, or denied. After reading into record the correspondence received by the commission relative to this application, we'll ask the applicant to present the application in detail. The presentation will be limited to 45 minutes. The chair will entertain questions of clarification concerning the applicant's presentation. We'll hear from those who wish to speak in favor of the application, followed by those who are opposed. Comments must be limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public will have one opportunity to speak during the segment of the hearing. They may also submit their concerns in writing during the public hearing. During the segment, the commissioners may ask additional questions. The bylaws of the commission allow only for the presentation of similar positions in succession and preclude the intermixture of comments pro or con. All questions and comments must be directed through the chair. As you are recognized, please state your name and address so your comments may be legally recorded. Please be assured that everyone will be given the opportunity to speak. However, the commission is most interested in hearing factual information relative to the application. In view of the time constraints placed upon us, we ask your indulgence in not reiterating comments previously presented. After public comments are received, the applicant will have the opportunity to comment. Time will be limited to 10 minutes. Are there any questions? See, no. There was no correspondence. So if the applicant wants to present.
Yes, I'm Arnold DiGregorio, her father.
And your address, sir?
Am I allowed to talk or not?
Yeah, but your address, sir?
11 Robbins Lane, Brookfield.
Okay, go ahead.
We've been here 18 years and she's been with us 18 years as a mother-daughter or mother. That's it. There's nobody else that's been here but us. That's basically what we did.
Well, actually, sir, if you could tell us exactly what you're planning on doing, not about your familiar relationship right at this point, but what you're asking this commission to do.
Approve that it can be a mother-daughter.
Approve what?
The location and the 790 square feet of additional space to live in.
And can you let us, I have to make the record, so I just want to know exactly what you're doing. This is pre-existing, correct, sir?
Yes.
Does it have a separate entrance?
Yes, it does.
Okay, how long has it been pre-existing for?
18 years. Or 16 years. We're here.
16 years? And everybody has has it before them in the commission? I reviewed it. Does anybody have any questions of the applicant and what they're trying to do?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm looking at the plan, and I don't see that there's a kitchen indicated anywhere. Is that true? There's no kitchen, or is there one that's just not on the plan?
There is one that's not on the plan.
And also, is there a bathroom somewhere?
Yes.
And is that-
right corner, and there's a little right corner one where there's a bath and a shower, toilet, and vanity.
Okay, I mean, aside from that, I mean, everything looks normal, you know, the den, the study, family room where there's a kitchen and a bathroom nearby. So looks okay.
Fran, is there any way we can, when we get this, we can actually have everything on what we approve?
Thought it was on the plans. This application came in actually, I believe, at the last zoning commission meeting, so, because we had to set a public hearing for it.
Fran, this is what I have.
Yeah, I can't tell Kirk.
So anyway, it shows a big family room, the study, closet. It has a nice drawing, except it doesn't actually indicate where the kitchen parts are or where the bathroom parts are. It must have been before that stuff was added.
That map that you have there was the original approved. What the applicant did afterwards was he converted it, added a kitchen, added the other necessities to it without obtaining permits.
Do we have that in the record, Fran?
Do we have that in the record?
Yeah, do we have the add-ons on the drawings?
You can make it a stipulation that he adds that in to do an approval before we issue anything.
Do you understand that, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
Any other questions? Yep.
this came about because the property's for sale and a red flag came up that they had an accessory apartment that wasn't approved. Although the assessor has it on their field card, the zoning doesn't have it, nor does building, so.
Well, and since it's being sold, I definitely would want to have the location of the bathroom and the kitchen on the plans.
We should have a full floor plan. I agree. Yep.
Any other questions from any of the other commissioners? And then the reason, sir, the applicant, the reason why we would need that is if someone comes in the future and they're putting an apartment and there's a bathroom or a kitchen there, it's not on the plans, then this commission really did not approve that because they're only approving what the plans were submitted, which is what Commissioner Timmerman held up.
Yeah.
I got it. No problem. We can add that to it.
Okay, so any other questions from any other commissioners? Anybody in the audience have any questions or clarification? Does anybody want to speak in favor or against this application? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve with stipulations.
We have to close the public hearing first.
I make a motion to close the public hearing. Property application Z-20-75 at 11 Robbins Lane for an accessory apartment.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion? All in favor? You know what, Kurt, since you're right on there, do you want to make your second motion?
Yeah, sure. Make a motion to approve with stipulations application Z-20-75 11 Robbins Lane for an accessory apartment of 794 square feet. Stipulation being that they need to submit a drawing showing the location of the kitchen and the bathroom to make it a full accessory apartment.
I second the motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Congratulations, sir. And you now know that you just need to submit the plans showing the kitchen and the bathroom.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, now we're going on to 6A, old business, outdoor dining. All right, so the outdoor, it's extended by executive order extending us to November 12th. Is that correct, Fran?
Yes.
So I know we have our tents and everything else. Does anybody want to discuss? Do we want to leave everything in place? Keep going meeting to meeting? Tony says, yeah, meeting to meeting.
Yeah, I like meeting to meeting.
Leslie?
That's fine.
Okay. So I guess then I'll make a motion to, when's our next meeting, Fran?
September 24th.
4th, yeah.
September 24th. I make a motion to extend our outdoor dining and although the road regulations until our next meeting is September 24th, where we can discuss it again.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're on to new business, 7A, 83 Federal Road. Is the applicant here, Fran?
Yeah, there should be.
Okay.
Anybody here from 83 Federal Road?
Yes, this is Al Whiting. I'm here representing Mobile Oil and the owner.
Okay, and what's your address, Al?
336 Nob Hill Road, Meriden.
Okay, and go ahead and present your what you're looking at doing.
Okay. Does everybody have the drawing rendering for this location?
Sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we have the
On page
full
one.
color packet.
Yeah, on page one, you'll see a before and after, the existing and the proposed canopy. And this site is on Mobil's list to be what they call synergized. Synergy is a fuel program that ExxonMobil has. And there are two elements to this gas station that they want to do. Number one is to install those red components on the canopy column that are known as blades. And if you look on page 2, you'll see a plan view. The square in the middle is the canopy outline. The square known as backcourt is the building. And you'll see 3 blue colored extensions to the canopy columns. Those are the so-called blades. If you will go to page 3, in the lower left corner, you'll see a little closer view of those 3 components. If we could switch to, go ahead to page 5 of 10, you'll see a little detail of what those blades look like. There is the word synergy on it and a little logo known as a verse. And let me jump ahead to the last element of this application, which is page 9 of 10. And in this section, Mobil is requesting that they reface the existing price cabinet with LED faces, no change to the size of the sign, location, or height. And that's pretty much the sum total of the application.
I'm not sure how many members were on this commission before, but we had this come to this commission before, something similar up at the Four Corners. And the issue we had back then was those synergy.
The fins.
Which they're calling, right, architectural elements. Are they signs or are they architectural elements? And I think the last discussion we had with them is that Mobil was making them do it. And, you know, it kind of is a sign, but nobody really knows what synergy means. So, I mean, you know, it's up for discussion again. And Fran, if those are signs, does that actually meet our regulations? No, right?
I'm not sure how we would consider it. Do we consider it a roadside sign or a part of the building sign? That's the question. And I think that's what the question was at the Four Corners too, which I know Mobil, or I believe Al, you were involved in this one also. Mobil agreed to remove their synergy off those chutes or whatever was installed up there.
Right, just the lettering was removed, but the architectural element stayed.
Exactly, correct.
Right. So, I mean, I think we're kind of in the same situation we were up in Four Corners where, you know, we can approve this, but with the stipulation that the words can't be on the architectural design.
And it begs the question, why
Okay,
don't
I was actually the applicant for that other location. And I do remember that the board was willing to compromise and allow the elements to be installed as long as the wording and the word marks,
Right.
logos, trademarks, and everything were covered, which is what we did.
Correct.
And if the board is willing to do the same thing here, Mobil is willing to accept that. No problem. We can install those blades without any trademark, logo, any writing on them.
Perfect. Then that seems like it's architecture, not a sign. And then we don't have to go back and
Yes,
visit our
correct.
regs. Okay.
Perfect.
I would say that the numbers, though, indicating which pump numbers are fine, because they have,
Yeah, absolutely, because we don't want confusion.
Yes, there are these, I guess I didn't mention those, but those are usually, nobody has a problem with those, but those are known as number wedges, and they just indicate the pump numbers so that the motorist can say he's on pump number 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve application Z-20-79, 83 Federal Road, Exxon Mobil with stipulations. Site plan modification to install red architectural elements, except that they can, and the free signing upgrade to the LED price sign with removal of the words on the blades, but the numbers on the pump wedges, the number wedges are okay.
I'll
Second.
second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you.
All right, now we're on to 7 Delmar Drive, application Z-20-89. Is the applicant here?
Yes, I am.
All right, do you want to present what your name and address for the record and then present what you want us to do?
Yes. My name is Dean Pushler, landscape architect. I reside at 13 Kimberly Drive in Brookfield. The applicant is Speed Realty LLC. They're the owner. Essentially, they have a tenant. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
They have a tenant who wants to be able to drive in parks and cars in the building. So the owner wants to build ramps up to 2 loading docks. So there's a total of 3 loading docks. The 2 left loading docks, they want a 30-foot ramp extending to the 4-foot height floor. So that's essentially the application. We're going to build a retaining wall on the right side of the ramp as you're looking at the building, and essentially put in processed aggregate and top dress that with asphalt. There'll be a guardrail on the right side. That's basically it. If you have any questions.
You say you're installing 2 ramps or 1?
It's 1 ramp to access 2 loading docks.
Fran, this meets all our regulations and setbacks.
Yes.
Any questions from any of the commissioners? Can I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve 7 Delmar Drive, application Z-20-89, site plan modification for proposed loading dock ramp enlargement.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, now we're on to 33-35 Woodview Drive, proposed zone change, application Z-20-88. We need to actually set a public hearing. So for 10-8, I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for October 8, 2020 on 3335 Woodview Drive, proposed zone change application Z-20-88. Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Nope. Aye.
Aye.
All right, so now we're going to the informal discussion. 802 and 806 Federal Road. We have somebody here for that, right? Fran?
Yes, Alan Rothman is here, and Neil Marcus is here.
And George Walker.
And George Walker.
Okay, I know we've talked about this many times before, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so go ahead.
So when we were here last time, people made certain comments that I wanted to address, that I said I would get back to you on. Neil, I don't know if you want to start it off? You're muted.
No, no, you can take off where we left off
Okay.
last time, Alan, because the questions that were asked were basically operational questions dealing with how we came to our conclusions that the current regulation, it just isn't working. So present what you've gotten.
Okay, so some of the comments. So just to remind everybody, in the TCD zone, it's required to have commercial on the bottom floor, and then we can have residential above. So we're asking for the building that's not close to any road, having no commercial on the bottom floor, and the building that's on Station Road having 40% commercial. These are all market rate apartments. Just the issue is filling them up with commercial when they're so far from any real traffic. So Tony mentioned that he wanted to make this more upscale. So we've done a few things to do that. We've added a swimming pool. We've added a lounge area around the swimming pool. We've added amenity space in the building that's in the middle. And that amenities would be a fitness room, common space. We could figure out what that would be. And we've added outdoor entertaining and dining. So people could take their food either from maybe other shops or from their people that live there. So those are some of the items we did to upgrade it. In your package is a letter from the bank that is financing buildings 2 and 3. Leslie, I was telling the group that it's very hard to get financing if you have commercial on the bottom floor. And Leslie said to prove it. So I went to the bank that did the financing on buildings 2 and 3, and they basically say it's very difficult to get financing. There's a lot already there, and this is not a high traffic area. We were trying to respond to the group's comments last time. And so those are some of the things we made, the changes we made. Neil, do you want to add anything?
No, you're good where you are. Keep going.
Okay, so what we're looking for is some sort of indication that this kind of plan would be acceptable.
We got rid of those condos, those townhouses on the side.
Yes, the townhouses, we like the idea of townhouses. Inland Wetlands would have liked it because there's no interruption of wetlands, but the group felt that it was not the whole idea of the downtown to have townhouses. So we've axed it.
And I'm gonna let the rest of the commission speak, but I think that I'm probably with Leslie more on this, and I'm not sure how the rest of the commission feels, especially in light of the COVID. So Brookfield in particular has affected us with COVID a little differently than other areas. So if it was before COVID, I would say that, yeah, commercial in that area is not doing well, and it's going to be hard. But with COVID now, we have an influx, a huge influx of people from New York City, from all over, that want to stay local and also invest their money. And they're talking about doing smaller commercials. And we're already starting to see commercial space, not office space, but other smaller being looked at. So I'm under the theory that that's great that this letter came, but I'm not necessarily sure that I believe that. I don't think that commercial space, especially in Four Corners, is going to be dying. I think actually COVID-19 is going to revitalize it. With that said, I do understand an interior building is going to be much harder to rent than one on the road. So thank you for at least putting back the commercial on the road and taking away the condos, which would have been taking away space from right on the road commercial space.
Hey, Eric, on your comments, the COVID-19 conditions affecting the market are really hard to predict. I mean, nobody knows. And we kept talking about
and they're geographic specific.
Yeah, well, but if you talk to the retailers currently, they're all very pessimistic. There are stores that, a lot of major retail chains have gone into bankruptcy. But the problem with retail stores is that people don't want to go into into stores, period. They'd much rather buy online because of the fear of infection. So, I mean, if you look at companies like, like Duluth Trading, their floor volume is down in their stores, but their mail, their online stuff is up. And of course, the perfect example is today's Danbury paper on the business section. They're talking about, in one little article, bailing out pennies from bankruptcy, but then in the major article, Amazon is hiring 30,000 new jobs. I mean, so.
And Neil, I agree with you 100%. If we were talking about big commercial space, I'd be hesitant about that. But we're talking about smaller commercial space where people are now going back to the smaller areas, I believe. And again, this is what I'm just seeing in this town. You can go with different areas, it's going to be different. But I'm seeing the smaller spaces are actually going to be coming back. And I agree with you 100%. The big spaces like Bed Bath and Beyond, all of them, it's going to shift to all online or majority online. But I'm hearing from a lot of people, and I'm sure you are too, because you have a big real estate practice, that the money's coming in and they are looking for the smaller spaces, which this would be. And they're looking for that community type of aspect because the city, for the most part, is kind of not there anymore. It's gone.
Hey, this is George Walker on behalf. I do the marketing, real estate marketing on only the commercial. I don't do any of the residential up at the Brookfield Village. And I've been on the front lines of that project since its inception. It took us about 2 years to get the first one filled up, which we just finished with the backspace in that first building that faces on Federal Road. So it's has not been an easy task. I don't disagree with what you're saying about, Eric, the potential of that coming, but I'm on the front lines of this every single day of the week, and we just don't see what you're talking about coming into the community yet. At least I'm not seeing it. I talk to co-brokers and other people in the business, and we have a lot of activity, but interestingly, the activity happens to be more on the, number one is the residential side is hot as a pancake. But it's the industrial space. That's the hot product right now. And we're not seeing anything yet from the smaller retail people coming in. Now, the Four Corners or Brookfield Village is the best clients that come in there, or the best type of clients that we're seeing. We want all kinds of clients, but the ones that we primarily see are restaurants, food services, and personal services. We do have one small, it's an eclectic shop, a very nice little shop that's there. And I don't have calls from anybody like that going on right at this particular case, at this point in time. So I don't see it. Maybe it's coming, but we see it on the industrial side. We see it on the residential side, but we're not seeing it on the retail side.
And George, I absolutely 100% respect you. And I know you know what you're doing in this area. And I really do hold your value and what you're saying, self-esteem. But me personally, if for whatever reason we're on the beginning of the wave and it's just forming, and if I say, okay, let's get rid of this commercial space in the floor, and then in 2 years it's there, I personally will be kicking myself because, the vision, why didn't we just wait? Because I agree, the last 8 years, 7 years, it has been that way. But I'm seeing a lot of people coming in, and you're right, the warehouse space is very wanting, but I have people actually use the word eclectic. They're saying, hey, listen, I want to bring my money from the city because I don't want to commute there anymore. And I want to open up and make eclectic shops. That was the exact word. And I just feel, at least for me, and maybe I'm the only commissioner, I would feel horrible that if I got rid of something that somebody had a vision for, and then it was right there finally knocking on the door because of COVID. But again, I take in everything you're saying into consideration, and I'm sure the rest of the commissioners are too. I just want to play devil's advocate a little bit because I'm kind of seeing it, and maybe I'm wrong.
Hey,
I'd like
Eric?
to, I'd like, if I,
Compromise. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I'd just like to back up a little bit what Eric said. I mean, the planning commission had a view, and I am personally a little concerned about doing away with the commercial space there. You know, we can always revisit this down the road if it's really a problem. But I think I said in the last meeting that, you know, the person who bought the property knowing what the zoning and the planning commission had said. I'm a little hesitant about changing it myself.
Chris, when we bought the property, it was interior was no commercial required on the bottom, 50% if it was on Station Road. In fact, the building just below, if you look below, that has 40% commercial because that was the zoning at the time.
By the way,
So we didn't change the rules. The town changed the ruals.
Thank you for that clarification.
On Alan's comment and directed to both Chris and Eric. Yeah, Chris, clearly we bought, the property was purchased under a different set of rules, as Alan's pointed out. But to your point, Eric, I would agree with you to the extent that I would hate to see that this property, the rules changed, the property is committed to all residential, and all of a sudden we find that there was an opportunity for commercial that was missed. I agree. On the other hand, to balance this out, we're not going to have any building unless we can deal with the problem that the lenders aren't willing to roll the dice on your theory. Now, what do we need? We need a compromise. We need something that you're comfortable with that I can sell, not me, Alan can sell to his lenders. I'll help him. And George
I have a compromise.
I've got one too. You want to try yours first? Go ahead.
I think we have the same, so go ahead,
Possibly. Neil. Okay, my compromise is that we have an escape plan, that we have a provision that allows this retail space to be converted to residential if in fact with a bona fide attempt to market the commercial space, the demand doesn't exist a certain number of months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 max, that if the property sits there, at that point, it can be converted to a retail use. And the reason we could do that is we could go to a lender and the lender says, okay, I'm financing 2 floors for immediate use in 1 floor, and you got to build that into your underwriting plan. I mean, the underwriting of it and the economics are going to be much different, but at least after 12 months or 18, or as I say, max 24, the lender is going to say, fill that space, do something with it. And we have the opportunity. Is that something you're thinking of as well, Alan?
That's right. Because that I can sell to the banks. They're basically only have to suffer through a deficit for 2 years or 18 months or whatever it is, as opposed to forever.
And Neil, I would be going on the spirit of compromise. I kind of hear what you're saying, and I understand it from a marketplace, but I'd be on the minimum of 24 months, not on the maximum.
Okay. I can live with 24 months.
Yeah. Hold on. Is the glass half full or half empty?
Leslie, I really want to hear from you on this because no.
I have said all I'm going to say about this.
Okay, Kurt.
Hold on, is that a threat or a promise?
Promise.
I like their plan the way it is because 2 things. They did put commercial in on the first floor on that Station Road, and the rules used to be what they want to do here, except for the internal building. Now, say they lose out. I think it's Brookfield Village losing out on the opportunity for retail because there's always more properties like right across the street who, they can grab up that commercial, use if they want to, because we have a lot of empty buildings around. And I like the fact that they've added that outdoor area too. And as far as being very pedestrian friendly and everything else, that's a nice addition. So when people are in that area, they can mix with each other with mask and 6 feet apart. But it gives a humanizing part to that whole area. I like the pool too, for that matter. But the compromise is nice too. I'm afraid that like that if we force them to do all residential, that it's never going to come, and that's we don't want that either. So I guess that's where a compromise would work out.
Alan, let me just ask you, and from a standpoint of what do you think as far as the timing issue goes? Because the second phase that's under construction now is planned to be completed next year. And your intent is not to start this until after this second phase is completed. Is that correct? But you got to go through the.
Yes. Well, the process is we have to go to wetlands after. It's a small amount of wetlands disturbance. It's 400 square feet. But that process alone will take 6 months to go through wetlands.
Yeah, but it's I guess the point I'm getting at is what Kurt was talking about, or Eric, I'm sorry, Eric was talking about was the missing that opportunity of the potential small tenants, retail tenants that may be coming in. I think we're talking probably at the best case scenario is 3 to 4 years by the time from today, right now, before you can even get something put up and get ready to put on the leasing boards out there.
All this does take quite a bit of time. It will take at least a couple of years.
Yeah.
Tony, can I get your weigh in?
I'm in between you and Kurt at the moment, just because I really do like the compromise. I like it a lot as it is right now, but I would hate to miss the potential as well. And maybe somewhere in the middle of both of you, which would be something like we do the 2 years, but if it doesn't work out, we get exactly what we're seeing on this plan now. I don't know if that's possible, but that's something right in the middle, or more time. But I respect all the opinions I'm hearing, and I do like that we got the commercial back on the outside. I am impressed with the plan that we saw today. I hear what you're saying, Eric. I really hear that as well.
Frank?
So I'm kind of stuck.
Frank, would you like to weigh in?
I'm in between you and Tony. I do agree that I think 24 would be the minimum. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks. And Chris, did you have anything more to add?
No. I mean, I would go with one of the compromises for sure. I was unaware that the rules changed on you, Alan. So that definitely, I take that into account. I still like what Eric was saying as far as bringing in the smaller retail stores. I do know that a lot of folks are moving up here. I have, that personal knowledge too. So I think that you would be able to rent them, but I don't want to stick you all together. So that's my feeling.
Alan and Neil, this is not my entire commission, but it's a good portion of the commission. Do you have enough information for how this commission would feel?
I think so. And I can live with what
think so too.
The conclusion is.
Yeah, I can't tell you how pleased I am to get the comments that you've given us, because though you're not, all saying exactly the same thing, you're all talking around a position that we think we can reach, which is that we can come up with and maybe Tony said it the best. I mean, he was sort of more in the middle of everybody in his position, but amongst those positions, I think we can come up with a proposal to the commission that could work. I'm comfortable that we can give you something that will allow the project to move forward. And again, as George said, and Alan as well, we're going to have the benefit of looking at Eric's analysis of the market before we really get to the point that this project is down the road. So yeah, we got 2 years but we need to have the fallback, because otherwise we can't get the financing. But if we have the fallback, and there's no question that if you can get some good commercial tenants in there, they're better than residential people anyway. I mean, that's a higher class tenant for the most part.
It's
So
more
no
profit.
question.
Yes.
Yeah. So everybody wants the commercial as long as it's there. But I'm very pleased with what you're telling us in terms of.
I have a question.
You're the
for-
sounding board, and to the extent that we're getting this off of our sounding board, I think we come up with a proposal.
So Alan, my question is, would you charge a premium for these units being market rate and the amenities you're adding? And then let's say that it did end up all residential. And how do you feel about the demand for that type of unit, like a premium unit?
The demand for housing right now is very high.
Okay.
The reason why, of course, if it's a high-end unit, it costs more money to create.
Right.
So that's why commercial is more profitable, because we don't have to build it out. The tenant builds it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have a
I
question.
mean, again, Alex, too. I mean, we as a commission, we want to see nice things built in Brookfield. It looks like what you're planning on doing is building something nice. I'd rather see something nice built than nothing at all built and it just being vacant for longer. So I appreciate, in the spirit of cooperation, that you guys are working with us. And, you know, some of us have some great ideals that maybe can continue on for Brookfield. And I do hope commercial comes, and I would just at least like to have the opportunity for it to be there. But I understand you need to get lending, and you can't build it if you don't get lending. So like Neil said, compromise, right, Neil?
Yep, we'll do it. We'll do it.
I just have one more comment. See, we're already in phase 2, and it's under construction. And where we're putting some of the parking, this is enormous amount of parking we got now on this new plan, and that's needed. And we need to move this through fast, because we have to know what we're building, particularly related to the parking lot. Otherwise, if we wait too long, we're not going to have parking for buildings 2 and 3. So what is we'll come up, of course, with a formal application. But what's the fastest way to get this to the next step?
Give it to Fran. Submit it.
It has to be submitted into the land office, and it'll have to be scheduled for a public hearing.
Yeah.
And Neil, I mean, you're gonna have to figure your magic to either do a reg change to remove the commercial on the first floor on the building, rear building, if that's what the commission decides, or I'm not sure what way around it is.
Yeah, maybe a variance.
I will have to, I'll have to figure that best approach, but we'll talk. I mean,
Yes.
I'm not going to do it in a vacuum, but
No.
that's what
Yeah,
we'll do.
because I'm not really seeing for that you need to do the zone change for the second floor for giving it some time either. That might be something that would have to be done later.
We'll take a look. Let me figure out the process that makes the most sense. The process that we want is something, A, that the commission can live with, B, that meets a timetable that Alan just said. We're going to be in front of inland wetlands for a few months. He said 6. I hope not. But the 4 will be painful. 6 is it's too much. But let me give some thought to that. And I'm going to go back, to Fran, and then we'll come up with a plan to submit, a method to come up with a plan to submit. We'll do that.
Alan, I have a question. On
Sure.
this plan that we're looking at tonight, if after 24 months, say, there's no action commercially, and it reverts in spirit of compromise, it reverts to all residential, how much of a reconfiguration of this footprint is going to have to take place?
No reconfiguration of the footprint. The
All interior
residential would
work.
be in that same location.
All interior.
Yes,
interior. Yep.
yes. So there-
Yeah,
this
but-
would
but
be
Frank,
where the
let-
buildings would go.
Yeah, maybe some access points would change, but
Okay.
interior.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
correct.
Thanks.
Well, I've
all
got
set?
some work cut out for me to do. So,
Okay, and I'll submit an application to Fran.
Okay, perfect.
thank
Now we're
you.
on-
Yeah, thank you.
Eric,
Always a pleasure, Neil.
Thank you.
I think Harry maybe wanted to say something.
Yes, if it was possible.
Oh. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, let me come on here. Harry Shaker, 87 Long Meadow Hill Road. Thank you very much first for the opportunity and also for your service and what you're doing. It's funny to hear about the compromise because I have been working almost for a year and a half with Alan on the current buildings going up in the Brookfield Village. And when I talk both as a selectman, as a resident, when I talk to people about what's going on at the Four Corners, you know, a lot of people don't want building going on there, but that's a fact. We are going to be building at the Four Corners. There's going to be residential and there's going to be commercial. And my goal, both as a selectman and as a resident, is to make whatever is down there as beneficial as it can be to Brookfield, to the residents and to Brookfield itself, aesthetically, financially, for business and for safety. And my fear going forward was, you know, we have these two new buildings that are going to be built and the first floor is going to be commercial. My fear is that in 3 and 4 years, we have buildings, not buildings, but units just sitting there vacant and to be piled onto the other ones in town that are vacant. When I talk about residential spaces to people, we want higher end quality places for people to move into who are empty nesters and people who can come in and stimulate the economy. So I am strongly in favor of allowing them to be able to put the residential in, with the fact being that this is going to help really stimulate the businesses to come in, because once we get these committed to residential and get them rented, it's going to promote more businesses coming in. And so I am highly in favor of this. I think it will benefit the downtown and it's going to benefit the people. It's all going to make it a safer place because these are going to be units that I believe people of responsibility are going to be moving into. So I will be brief. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. And I also am very pleased with what I'm hearing from the board members. So thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Harry.
Harry, thank you for your comments.
Yep.
Could I make just one more comment relative to the Brookfield Village and the existing commercial that's there? We're getting a good mix. There's a restaurant the Italian restaurant is opening up very soon. They've been very late in moving forward, but that's opening up soon. And the other businesses that are there, unfortunately, COVID slowed things down, but they were doing very well. The dairy store, the nail salon, and we just wrapped up a deal at the end unit with a nutrition bar that's going to be coming in. It'll be called Four Corners Nutrition. And so, you know, that fills up all the existing space that was available. And we have 2 restaurants pre-leased in the second buildings that's coming along. One is a upscale Asian restaurant and the other is a breakfast cafe luncheonette type facility. So, you know, we've got some good clients there. We're always beating the bushes to find more and bring more in. So we thank you guys for all your support and your comments and that sort of thing. So thank you.
Thanks, George. All right,
Thanks, everybody.
Fran, we ready to move on?
Yes.
Is there anybody here from 854, 874 Federal Road, the Enclave?
They're here.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Dennis Boyd, 2507 Post Road, Southport. I am here to introduce to the commission gentleman from AR Builders, Jason, who would like to speak to the commission about a change in the approved plan for 181 units at on Federal Road there. Jason came to the commission and met with the chairman and the vice chairman, as well as Fran, to informally discuss a change in the plan where they would prefer to build a 4-story building that is 45 feet in height and keep the number of units the same, but the original approval was 6 buildings, 30 units apiece. These gentlemen would prefer to build 4 buildings, thereby creating more open space, more green space, but have 45 units in each building. They are a well-heeled firm out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania that owns 9,000 residential units across 10 different states. They have properties in Connecticut, primarily on the eastern side of Connecticut, and they're very interested in Brookfield and the Danbury area. As I said, they've been a pleasure to work with so far, but they would like to speak to the commission about changing the approval, as I said, from 6 buildings and 30 units apiece to 4 buildings and 45 units apiece. And with that, I think I'll just introduce the rest of the commission to Jason, who will speak on behalf of AR Builders.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Dennis. Hi, my name is, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
My name is Jason Kambitsis from AR Building. I'm the Senior Vice President of Acquisitions and Development. Yeah, Dennis kind of hit it on the bud here, but I actually have a presentation I can show you if I could share it with the commission. I have it on my computer here. I don't know how to.
Allison, can you let him share?
I can actually, hold on here.
Yeah, I'll make him a co-host right now. Okay, you should be able to share your screen now.
I think it's a Dennis's laptop as co-host now. But
Oh, I'm sorry.
that would be Jason. That's okay.
Nobody's ever let me host anything, trust me.
Okay, I'm co-host now. Okay. All right. Hold on here, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay. Great. Can everybody see my? Can you guys see mine?
No, I cannot.
No. There you go.
Oh,
Oh,
there we go.
yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right. So anyways, like I said, I'm Jason Kambitsis, Senior Vice President, AR Building Company. Just so you understand who AR Building Company is, we're a privately held real estate development company, started in 1968 by one man, Dick Nuremberg. He owns the whole company. He has no partners, no investors. This is his company that he started with a duplex in Pittsburgh and has grown it into a portfolio of over 9,000 units in 10 states. We developed, build, and own all of our own properties. So we have a construction division I oversee in Pittsburgh and another one in Westerly, Rhode Island. All the projects you're going to see, we've built by ourselves. We use the same architect. All the people that are running the projects are AR Building staff. We actually bring contractors in from other states and try to utilize local people, but we try to have the same quality throughout all of our projects. Again, we're a little different being totally vertically integrated. You can call any community we've dealt with. You know, I come, I present, we build a building and they still call me up. You know, we build these things for portfolio. Over the entire 52 years of the company, I think we've sold 300 units. So that's kind of the commitment we have as building all these for legacy and portfolio. On the left there is a place called Chatham Commons in Cranberry, PA. Top right is Highland Hills Apartments in Cumberland, Rhode Island. And the bottom right are some older pictures of interiors, typical interiors of our projects. Just to give you an understanding of where we are right now in New England, we're wrapping up a project in East Providence of 228 units. Cumberland, Rhode Island, 198 is done. We just finished another one in North Smithfield. We're finishing up another one in Reynolds Farm at North Kingstown. We're doing a project in Groton. We have another one under contract that we're going to do in Groton. So we'll have 200 units there. We finished one in New London, Connecticut called 60 Mansfield Road. We're actually building another 88 units behind it. And we'll be completing next year another one in New London called Parcel J. It'll be 137 units. We also have under contract 2 projects in Massachusetts, Middleborough and Norton, 100 units and 132 units. And we have a few others that we're working on within Rhode Island and Connecticut. So this has all happened in the last 5 years that we came up and we started growing our portfolio in New England. And I hope, as you could see by this, is once we get somewhere, we start making more and more investments. In Groton, we're doing one project. We're now going to do another. Mansfield Road in New London, we started one, started doing another one, and are building another one behind it. So within that area, we're going to add maybe 600 units, new upscale rental units in an area that hasn't seen anything in decades. This is an example of our Reynolds Farm building. Again, this is kind of what we're proposing for here. Of course, every building is slightly different, but that's kind of our prototypical building. Every unit has a balcony, a lot of ample outdoor space. We use open concept floor plans. As you can see, we use high-end materials. We have brick, AZAC panels, aluminum railings. So these are all sprinklered buildings with ample light and ample open space. On the right, you can see our project Parcel J in New London. Below that is Kettle Point in East Providence. And the bottom is 60 Mansfield Road in New London. Again, here's Kettle Point. And this kind of gives you an understanding of that project, the clubhouse on the right, and an aerial view of that one. We actually are building it behind 62 condo units that are being sold right now in an office building. So I'm sure you're all very familiar with this site on Federal Road. As you can see, barren site, you've got one building on it. I know there's a proposed project across the street, and this is actually right up the road from the project we were just discussing. Dennis's project is approved for 181 units, which is what we're proposing to do over 6 buildings with a clubhouse, which is what we'll have. You can kind of see the constraints on the property. We've got 2, wetlands taking up the bottom right of the property, 1 access point, and a little bit of topography. If you see the high points sloping down towards the street. Our proposal is to take our 4-story building. Now, I know Dennis had talked about 45 feet. I think that's where it stands right now. Our buildings actually measure higher than that. We can deal with 45 feet. We may need a little more feet, but of course, as we get a limitation on feet, we also have to compromise on the roof structure. If you see all of our other ones, I'll show you back here. We have these gable ends. They kind of fit in to the design of Brookfield and kind of what other projects are looking like. If we lower the height, we may have to go to a flat roof or something a little different. Sorry. And again, that's kind of the footprint we have. We're not done with that. This is kind of what we're looking at and what we're proposing right now. 4 buildings, 1.57 parking spaces, which is ample, 181 units, and a clubhouse with a pool. What kind of separates our buildings apart from other people's buildings are they're all elevated. A lot of people are moving into these projects as empty nesters. A lot of people want to stay within their community, but they don't want to own a home. They are tired of maintaining the home, but they want to stay and they don't have an opportunity. They come to our buildings because they're fully accessible in regards to having the elevator. So they can be on any floor. They like that it's brand new. They like the granite countertops. They like the walk-in closets. They like the balcony space. They like the feeling of community. So we're seeing a lot of people, not as opposed to leaving a community to find housing somewhere else, we're actually keeping them in here. And we've been doing these kind of projects in communities just like Brookfield with a lot of success. Again, people don't want to leave. They want some new housing. So, this is just kind of an overview of what we will be proposing and what we're talking about. And I'm open for any questions and just want to get some feedback here. So thank you.
I know when you spoke with both me, Mary, and Fran, that I know our concern was I don't think you're going to find anyone on this commission that's going to allow a flat roof, for one. And so our concern is like, okay, so maybe you need 3 or 4 feet to go up. But my question back then was, what is my roof going to look like if I allow you 3 feet? if we
Yeah.
change zoning for 3 feet. And I still don't see that here that you're showing me. You're saying we might need extra feet or not. For, I mean, you know, to come back to us, we're kind of have to know, hey, listen, if you go 45 feet, because Fran, we're allowed 40, they're allowed 42, right? I believe it's 42 feet they're allowed.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you go 45 feet in the 3 feet, then I want to see what the roof line looks like, because it's very important for our roof line in the architecture, especially in that area. And, you know, we're balancing that out with, we obviously know that we've heard a lot of builders come in, is that in order to build it, you have to make it cost effective. So we want these properties to be built out, but we're not going to give up our architectural. We're not going to, you know, do too much. And I'm going to tell you, a flat roof is not going to work in that area.
Yeah, no, and it wouldn't work for us either. I'm just kind of laying out what I explained to you when we met. Really, what I wanted to do tonight was have a broader conversation about if we did that, if we have 45 feet, and we think that we could do something along those lines. We'll happily come back with a design that kind of fits that. That's not a huge constraint. And if that's really what it is, we can try to make that work as best as possible. Really, what I wanted to do tonight was bring it to the broader commission and have a conversation about that. Going from the 6 buildings to the 4, from 3 stories to 4, all that kind of stuff. But again, we've been having those kind of internal conversations. What do we do on the ends? We've had buildings where, you know, as I see it, maybe the middle of it is flat, or we put all of our HVAC equipment in there, which we have. We've actually cut out backs of the buildings and done that in areas you can't see it. We could do that where it's gabled, and then, you know, there's something different happening in the middle, especially at the height of those from the street. If we do that, it's going to have that look. And that's kind of what we're talking about. We want to keep that design as well. That's kind of a trademark for us. We want to fit into the community, and the design we have does that. And I feel we can make that work. I just really wanted to show this to everybody tonight and kind of get a feel for what people think of that. And introduce ourselves to everybody.
And the original one that was approved, was there any commercial there?
I think Dennis had shown 3,200 square feet of commercial.
Yeah, there were 3,200 square feet of commercial. And since I've stolen the floor for a second, let me just throw in one other thing. Fran, maybe you can correct me, but my recollection and understanding is the approval we got from Brookfield was a couple of years ago when the regs were slightly different. I think our approval was for 45 feet and 3 stories. I believe the regs have now changed to 42 feet and 3 stories. So I guess one of the issues is, well, you know, if the commission is going to go along with AR's desire to make it a 4-story building, even whether it's 42 feet or 45 feet, I guess is an issue that you guys have to tell us, you know, what would happen. Because if this is going to be a brand new application, I suspect we'll have to live by the new rule of 42 feet. And if there's an amendment or some administrative way of changing the original approval from 45 feet and 3 stories to 45 feet and 4 stories, it gives AR builders a little bit of a latitude. It might give them the 3 feet that they need above the 42 feet that is now the current reg. But having said that, maybe I'll turn it over to Fran and just tell me if that is an accurate assessment of what is at hand right now.
Yeah, I'd have to check the original approval. I do not have that with me or have access to me with that right now. I don't recall. I thought the old regulations, but I'm not sure how it was approved, the enclave, if it was 42 feet or 3 stories or 45.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can check, and we don't have to beat this to death tonight, but my understanding is that it's 45 feet and 3 stories. And again, if the commission was willing to consider a 4-story building under the original proposal, maybe there's a way of accomplishing that. But I guess we need to go back and just double check that, and then come back to you guys have to tell us, I guess, how to best go about getting this plan approved if it meets the commission's wishes.
Yeah.
This one, you're planning on not having any commercial, correct?
On the plan I proposed here, yes, we don't have any commercial.
Jason, can you go back to the original layout, please?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I've never seen this before. I'm just looking.
Yeah.
Because the original approval does show retail there.
Yes,
Right on the corner, yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Which is-
and
Is that right? That retail, is that right next to where that house, where the tree fell in the house?
No.
It's next to the liquor shop, I think, right?
Yeah.
Next to the liquor shop? Okay.
Yeah.
and that looks like it's encroaching maybe on the wetlands or not? Or is the wetlands to the left there?
The wetlands is above it. If you see, now let me just go back to the other one. You can kind of see. Sorry, you can see the wetland there. Okay. And then it's not in it. Of course, there's other parts of that which encroach on there, which I'm kind of surprised how they do that. Ours is away from all that. I don't know if they get changed or not, but ours stays away from all that.
And Jason, what's the main reason that predicates wanting to go to the fewer number of buildings?
Well, we do this in an effort to, we actually add a lot more open space to the plans.
Mhm.
And if you can kind of see this, it is almost a sea of parking lot. And if you go to ours, you have the parking lots, but there's a lot more open space to the front, to the sides. So it gives it a much more open look. And then honestly, for us, it gives us the ability to do the elevators. And what that does is, the elevator, I don't know what's going on there in regards to those, but I've seen a lot of properties where they just have 3 stories and you walk up, and that's limiting for a lot of people. And what we find is that when you go to the 4 stories, you can justify the elevator, which open the doors to every type of renter.
Mhm.
And that's just where we've seen the success.
Would you have other examples, besides what you've shown us tonight, of your buildings that are 3 versus 4 stories?
Do I have examples of 3-story buildings?
Yeah, I mean, besides what you showed us earlier in the presentation, do you have a wider portfolio of examples?
No, mine are all pretty much 4-story buildings.
Okay.
The first one that was shown was done, a few years back, and we actually did the last one was 4 stories with an elevator. So everything we have, and I can, if we want to look at them again, is the 4-story elevator.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, my 8-year-old wants to say hi.
Hi.
Hi. You going to bed?
Hello.
Oh, he's got a gun. Okay. All right. Let's shoot anybody.
Jason, the building on the left.
Marty, I gotta go. I'm live. All right. I love you. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah.
The larger picture on the left. How
Yes.
high is that at the highest point?
It depends on where you actually say what the roof line is. I think at the top of the roof, it's 57 feet.
Wow.
But if you look at how the roof lines are delineated, and I don't know how they're calculated in Brookfield. I know, Eric, I think we may have talked about that. Is it the middle of the roof or where the eave is? I'm not really sure. But those roof lines are much bigger. I would say the eave is probably 40 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Frank, this is a lot taller than what our regs would allow and how we measure our roof line.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, really for us, if we could get to 45 feet, let's say that was a compromise. If we got to 45 feet and had the 4 stories, we would come back with the design. If, again, you're not approving anything tonight, but if you said, look, we'd be open to that, we'd like to see that, I can bring you a building that kind of would do
I personally
that.
would like to see what a 45-foot to our regs 4-story building would look like.
Yeah, good. And I can do that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like the plan. This is Kurt Timmerman.
Yeah.
I like the plan that there's fewer buildings that have more green space around the buildings.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just makes it more pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I can jump in for a second, just to repeat something, I think if in fact I'm correct in that the original approval for our 6 buildings was approved under 45 feet and 3 stories. My understanding is the 45 feet is the midpoint between the peak of the roof and the gutter line. And if they can do that, then the question becomes is would the commission consider, well, I don't even want to put words out there because I may misspeak, but would the commission consider making an amendment that would just allow the 4th story, so long as we complied, or AR Builders complied with the height limitation, and it met, aesthetically, it met what the commission wants to do around the rest of the town.
I have a question, I guess. I'm relatively new to this, so forgive me, but I see a trend with a lot of developers. So what made you think, you came in and you said you gave us one design which got approved. What changed? What changed to now that don't work and you need something else? I'm
not the developer. I didn't come in with the first plan. I'm the potential purchaser of the property from the original developer.
I see.
So for me, this is me coming in and saying, hey, this is what we can do, and this is what we're proposing on the property. I don't want to put words in Dennis's mouth. Dennis has had it for a few years, and the one across the street have both kind of stalled, and nothing's really happened. We're here to say, look, we want to do this deal. We want to make this project happen. But we'd like to have the 4 stories. That's how it works for us. So, I mean, without sounding coy or anything, we're new to this one too. So.
No, that's helpful. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Chris, this might be able to help you. I mean, they're gonna say what they need to say too, but the developer needs to get somebody to fund it and to build it, basically. And what's been going on all through this Brookfield is that they're having problems getting funding and banks to build these buildings. So, you could skirt around it, but I mean, we're all pretty smart that we know once you go from 6 buildings to 4 buildings and put them in 4 blocks, it's going to be cheaper to build. It literally is. So, we come to the point as a Brookfield Zoning Commission of going, okay, we had something approved prior, it's the same amount, but it's not being built out. Now, here comes a national construction company that says, listen, the way the initial plans went out, we're not going to build it. We don't want to take it because either it costs too much money or doesn't make sense for us, doesn't fit our thing. Whatever their reason is, they're not building it. So they come back forward with this one going, here, listen, you guys are getting something because you're getting more open spaces, but this is the only way that this company would take the developer and build it. So as a commission, we got to keep that in mind that, we have these properties and we do want them built out. So if we make them so onerous that nobody wants to go ahead and invest the money and build them, then we're stuck with these vacant lands that something else may happen with them. So, from a zoning perspective or from a Brookfield perspective, if the project looks good, we want it to be built out. So we kind of have to figure out the economics as well and understand that builders come in with their economical issue. Some just say, hey, I want to make more money off this project. And from a zoning commission, we got to find out what's that happy medium where, hey, listen, you don't need to make that much money and you still need to make the town happy. Does that help, Chris?
Yeah, it helps. And what Jason said helps. I mean, I definitely like the idea of the elevators. I mean, overall, I like what I'm seeing. I'm just trying to educate myself as we go along.
Sure.
As to why certain things change. But overall, I personally like the design. I like the fact that he wants to put in elevators. It opens it up to the handicap and the elderly population. I like what I'm seeing. I'm just trying to educate myself at the same time.
Yeah, and I can say, and I appreciate that. These are all great comments from both of you. We've done a lot of these where we've come into projects and people propose 3 stories and then it doesn't go anywhere. And then we've changed them just because it does, at the end of the day, again, for all the reasons we spoke about, the elevators, the open space, everything that goes along with it. And I will say, Eric, you make a good point about the funding. We don't, we have no partners, no investors. If we're talking to you, that means we're ready to go. So we're not here to make some sort of deal, change it, flip it, or anything like that. We're here to build it. We don't build for other people. we build for ourselves and we take it seriously. So if we were to move forward with this, you know, we would, and we got this passed, we'd start immediately. I have the team ready. We're ready to go with this. So I just want you guys to fully understand our intentions, which are not to change a plan and see what happens. Our intentions are to change the plan and get started.
So
I'd
really,
like to.
no, go ahead. Sorry, Tony.
I just wanted to say I'm very excited about the potential of this project. I really appreciate the design and the effort of creating more openness, the 4 stories with the elevators. I feel like it provides something to this town that isn't offered, and I don't see potential for it. I think this is a great opportunity for the town, and I just wanted to convey that. I feel very strongly that it's a great project and it would improve our town. So I really like the idea of it, and I'd like to explore how to make it work.
Can I take my turn now?
Oh, absolutely, Leslie.
Thank you. I want to say that I appreciate the way you explained that, Eric, because I was sitting here thinking that area is a mess, and we gotta move. We gotta get this cleaned up and make that area nice down there. And I love this. I think this is beautiful, and I feel like the community would appreciate 4 buildings instead of 6.
Right.
Or green space. I really think it's great, and I'm with Tony. I think we'll figure out how to make this happen.
Right.
That's great.
Okay, so as a commission, you know, we just have to, we're limited right now by the 42 feet and the 3 levels. So, you know, if we're looking at the 4 levels, it's a different story if we're able to amend a prior application that we had, or, you know, we're trying to come in with something new, which, you know, if it's going against our regs, we can't do that. That's a ZBA thing. Or we have to amend our regs to say, hey, yes, we're allowing now 45 feet with 4 floors. So, and it's not just this site. We have to look at it that whole area, because that's what it would apply to that area if that's the case.
Jason Kurt Timmerman here.
Yeah, hey.
You said this is your portfolio, so you guys continue to own them. Do you hire local property managers, or do you have your own?
Yeah,
people?
we do. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all the ongoing staff on the property, managers, leasing managers, maintenance, they're all local people. We have regional managers who oversee things. Since we've now made this portfolio in New England, we're bringing on a regional for New England. Again, it's all run out of our Pittsburgh office, but we do hire local people here. And frankly, when we come in, we try to hire local contractors. You know, like I said, we have our people, but we're always open to get more people that are local, and we've done that everywhere we've gone. So we want to be a part of the community. I mean, that's what we're here for. And I think, again, our portfolio and what I showed you there, and actually I have another one, which is a perfect shot of it. We built 200 units next to a grocery store, and then we bought the land next to the grocery store, building another 120. You know, we get somewhere, and we want to continue to grow, because there's an economy of scale to that. And, you know, that's just who we are. We find a place that's comfortable, we dig in. So, yeah, again, we try to keep it as local as possible. And I'm as excited as you guys are. So I really appreciate it.
So the one thing I would definitely want to see is what 45-foot building, 4-story with our regs looks like.
Okay.
Agree.
Got it. Okay.
Anything for anyone else?
Is that something you want us to bring back for next month?
I would like to see it. I mean, if you,
Yeah.
if you really
Okay,
want to
I'll
have,
have
a
that.
better, if you want to have a better opinion,
Yeah,
you'll get a
no.
better opinion from me if I can see what I'm looking at.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Like I said, I wanted to show everybody where we're at, get the feedback, which, you know, my thought is that. And then from a process standpoint, how do we want to handle this moving forward? I mean, do I come back and we try to do an application, or, you know, I'm just.
You can always put in an application anytime you want. However, you know, I still, before I would personally want to approve or anything else, I want to know what the building's going to look like.
Yeah. Okay.
Compared to what else I have on there.
That's
but,
fine.
You know, at any given time, you can put in your application, you know, and the commission will discuss and talk about it.
Very
Yeah,
good.
and Eric, I think at that point, because it's a building really, that we have to look to see whether we have to get a variance or a zone change or an amendment to a site plan or something. So that will help us guide what that process is going to be moving forward.
Can I make one suggestion too, is wetlands too? Wetlands may have to review this too prior to any zoning approval.
Well, I'm sure they will. It's a whole different application now. Well, not a different application, but it's a different
configuration.
And impervious zones and everything.
Well, I would say that, and I can get our engineers on this. What we always try to do in a situation like this, and what we found success with, is not messing with any of those prior approvals. And what I mean by that is we stay within the setbacks. Everything that was approved by wetlands, at least from where it's delineated, we haven't changed. From an impervious standpoint, again, that have to be calculated. I would imagine we're less pervious. I mean, we're less impervious. But again, I would imagine, I don't know how Brookfield handles that, more of a cursory review, but one that we would go through whatever needs to be done. But we try to, bring it back with a better plan than maybe was prior approved. We never try to go for a harder one because, as you know, that gets you nowhere. So, okay. I'll come back next month and I'll have a building for you. We'll have this much more fleshed out and we'll go from there. Okay.
Jason, next month
Yes.
or in 2 weeks?
I can get you a building for 2 weeks.
Yeah, Jason, just so you know, I think when we spoke about this, the commission met monthly during the summer months, but beginning this month, it's every other week, correct?
Correct.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I will have a plan to show you guys in 2 weeks.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate all your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would also like to thank the commission for its time and consideration and cooperation in this effort. I don't think I need to overemphasize how grateful I am, but thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're on to the zone map discussion. So this is come up in a couple of different types of areas that when we go ahead and you guys are seeing at the zoning board that, we did our zoning reg change. We tried the best we can. And obviously, it worked for 95 to 99%, but sometimes there's 1% that didn't work for us or may have worked, but we need to rediscuss it. When we did the zone map, I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with like Manja, White Turkey Pantry, the liquor store that's next to White Turkey Pantry. Those were all a different zone prior to our zone remap, and now they're rezoned to residential. And in particular, I don't know what it's called anymore, but the deli there that used to be White Turkey Pantry, Nemers, or it's changed a couple names over the years.
Yeah.
He wants to be able to put in a deck, and so he can have some outdoor dining and with COVID and have that. But he's not allowed to do anything because it's residential. It's changed from what it used to be to residential now. And the only thing he can do is change it back to residential or keep the same use type of deal. And after talking and seeing it and talking a little bit with Fran, I think that as a commission, we need to revisit it because I personally don't think it might be fair that we took property that probably will never go back to residential, but we're limiting it to residential rules. So I wanted to talk to the commission briefly about, such as the pantry there, the deli that wants to do something, but he's limited now because we rezoned them to residential when they weren't zoned that before a reg change.
Can you
that about sums it, right, Fran?
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, it was I think it was IL 80 or IL 40. Then when we did the zone map, there was all those little spots. Manja, Al's
The gas
Cookout.
station,
That one.
Al's
Yeah.
Cookhouse.
Al's
They were
Cookout.
all zoned differently before, and we just kind of threw the zoning map all over, and nobody at that time from those restaurants or businesses came and spoke to us, but doesn't mean that they didn't have a voice or know what was going on. So, and now we have this problem coming. He can't even go to ZBA. He can't do anything because he's residential now. And, I kind of wanted to talk to this commission about, and we'd have to talk to the town attorney about restoring those rights back to those properties that are not really residential, but are now in the residential zone. I don't know if it's by an overlay zone or, I probably Kurt might know a little bit better on how to do that. But I just right now wanted to get a feel for the zoning commission on whether or not we should revisit that or not revisit it.
It seems like you're talking about some of these
Can I-
commercial uses along the along the Candlewood Lake Road have been swept up in the map change and they lost out. And so I'm not adverse to looking at that.
Leslie?
I don't understand why this happened. Can you explain it? I'm late on this because I wasn't on the commission, so I'm not getting it.
Well, when we did the rezoning, and it was a year and a half, 2 years ago, we did the zone map and everything else. We changed a couple of the zones and we expanded and took away some of the zones. So prior, these they were kind of like little places all the way along Candlewood Lake Road that were, and you know the businesses that are there now. They were in a different zone, and when we rezoned, we put the map back on. We put them all in residential, which means that they are now following residential rules. So we kind of limited what they could do with their property.
Yeah, they were now they're pre-existing non-conforming. They used to be able to operate as a commercial entity in the commercial zone, but being rezoned, they don't lose what they had, but they can't expand it. And that's the problem with Nimer's Deli. They can expand now because they're now in the residential zone, whereas before this, they could go and put a deck on and have outdoor dining or something, or same with Manja Manja or any of those that were along Candlewood Lake Road, were commercial properties. And then they got all painted with the same residential brush. And so now they're all residential.
So it wasn't anything intentional. It just happened.
No. It just kind of happened. Nobody, we put it out to the public to come and speak, and nobody really brought it to our attention.
That seems like that should be corrected.
Is this the only area affected, Eric, or are there other areas as well?
That's a great question, Frank. And I'm going to go with it probably is not the only area, but it's the area that's coming to our attention. Like there was another one in our regs. It doesn't have to do with necessarily the overlay of the map. It has to do with, we have a reg for pools that says that they can't be in the front yard. Well, we had a resident come to zoning, and and I'm not too sure when zoning wrote it that we took into consideration that there are houses in Brookfield that have considerable or could be considered to have 3 front yards because there's 3 streets on either side, which means that they're limited to one piece of the backyard. So they want the ZBA, and hopefully it gets resolved there. But we're trying to go, well, how many other properties might have two streets? And then maybe our regulations become too overburdening for some properties. And I get the one with the pool where you have 3 streets. Now you only have 1 backyard. So, and you can't put a pool in the front yard at all.
Right.
But you can put it in the sides as long as it's not in the front.
They don't even have a backyard technically, according to zoning.
Yeah.
Just side yards.
Just a side yard.
Just side yards. Correct.
And just so the commission knows, it's the house on the corner of West Wisconneer, Knoll Crest, and Pocono Ridge. It's that big one right there. It's surrounded by 3 fronts.
And they went to ZBA, and ZBA gave them the variance. But whenever I see that, I ask the question, and it was a big dispute over the pool with the neighbor. So where it would have been very nice if our zoning already spoke to that and said, listen, you know what, you don't even have to go to ZBA. And I looked at our reg, and I actually see where we could easily add on an addition, and it would probably clean that up. So my question, it's all buried in the papers. So my question would be, how many other of these properties are affected?
Yeah.
So we're doing this. I know there's probably quite a few that have at least 2 roads. I don't know how many have 3, which really became a problem. So in our zoning, we have 3.9B, swimming pools should not be located in the front yard. That's all it says. But, you know, if we add in, except in the case of a corner lot where a pool could be located in an area defined as a front yard, provided it is located to rear of the residence and meets the applicable minimum setbacks in 3.9C for side yards and front yards. So we can add some wording to help out those. Right now, I think for the one, they got ZBA approval, I think it's taken care of. But when I talked to Fran about it, I'm like, but Fran, how many other properties in Brookfield do we have that might have the same type of situation? And is ZBA the best place to go for these types of things that we didn't consider? Or, you know, should we clean up our zoning regs too? So that's another question.
I think it's a shortcoming on our part. If we are aware of an issue and there's a way to fix it, we should make a best effort to fix it. Especially now with pools, the pool issue may seem like, oh, how often are people going to have this problem?
Yeah,
but with
not a
COVID,
lot.
everybody wants a pool. So
And global
Yeah.
warming.
That's no joke. I had 2 people contact me about pools personally, like, who do I talk to? And I'm like, not me.
I agree with Tony and that we should clean up what we could clean up. As far as helping out the businesses, I'm all for that. So if we change something that hurt the business and we could fix that problem, I'd love to fix the problem. I'd like to fix the problem for the residents as well. So I'm certainly not opposed to making the changes we need to make to correct the issues.
Kurt,
Yeah,
I know
and,
you told
you know-
me you were looking for things to do. Is there any way that
We
you
should
can,
split the map up and everybody gets a section to look at.
would you take a look at it, maybe run it past the town attorney? Kurt,
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate it.
And you know,
Like,
it does belong here because variances are supposed to be hard to get. and
Right.
unique.
Right, and yeah. And it's supposed to be safe. I agree with you. So, and just, you know, for the rest of the board, I mean, you guys all know, but Kurt has just been so invaluable. I mean, you know, I know myself, I lean on you a lot, Kurt. So I really, really appreciate everything you've done for the town of Brookfield and this zoning commission and helping me and Fran out a lot. So again, thank you. And, you know, if I could cry, I'd have it here because actually you do a lot, Kurt, and I appreciate it.
Thanks.
I'm actually surprised you don't have like some kind of database where you can just look up what houses have 3 yards, or, you know, like what, with technology, you'd think that there'd be some kind of database like that.
Yeah, it's called the Fran database.
Okay, so I think that takes care of all that. We can go back to our other business, right, Fran?
We can go back to the, yeah.
Okay.
The public hearing.
So, all right, we're gonna go back to, since we closed everything, we go back to
4B.
4B, yeah. So I'll make a motion to go back to 4B, proposed regulation change D-20-66.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so this is the proposed regulation change for the density and number of units. What's our discussion on this? Does anybody want to lead this?
Sure. I have to agree with planning in that the acreage requirement doesn't really, it only applies to 3 of the parcels, 2 of them which aren't going to change, and that's all right because anything larger could do it anyway. And I also agree that the density shouldn't change because it's going to apply across all of the zone. And so if you have a larger parcel, all of a sudden they could go 25% up. So I don't think it's appropriate for that change for density. And I think that's more appropriate for a variance, because a variance is for unique situations, which this is. Plus, if I look at it, the number of units they have now in that hotel is actually more than they want to put in as far as an apartment goes. And if you look at it in that way, they're actually reducing the nonconformity. So that's, you know, that's again appropriate for a variance. So that's why I would not want to change the density requirement or limit for the zone. So That's as far as the number of the mix, which we can take care of in a site plan or a special permit. There was some talk about number of school kids, how many would that increase? But what I would like to see is if an applicant's going to come forward to have the study on what is our population, how's it going to go down or up? Because Mylone and McBroom already do that for us. And how's this going to add to that? Is it going to raise our overall population, or is it good that we don't decline as fast? We don't want to close schools either. So, but I think that information would be good to have as far as that. And then the last thing they mentioned in their meeting, the Planning Commission, they talked about traffic and most commuters would go north to get onto Super 7. And the ones that do go south, I think it would be a benefit for the businesses down there, because we want people to go to Four Corners and do their business.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think that would be a good idea. So traffic wise, I'm not too concerned with, because different types of traffic will go different ways. So I vote yes for, I would vote yes for the acreage change, no for the density. That's my feeling.
You thinking that they should, if we give them that, that density is more of a ZBA type of deal.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
that they,
the number, yeah.
and that they should apply for their hardship
Yes,
for ZBA.
right.
All right, so I'll weigh in. I don't agree with the bedroom counts, whether or not there's gonna be more school. I've heard that argument so many times, especially on the condos. I mean, it's been the argument, it's been day long for the condos. And when we look at it, I don't think whether there's the 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom has had many effect. We've looked at the ones down, actually me and Fran, when it came up, we've looked down the ones at Lake Lilinola that were between den. They weren't allowed a certain amount of bedrooms, so they had to call them a den. Then the dens got switched over. And we looked at the population that it really did not add anything. So I think that the bedroom count is not going to add to anything more if they make it 1 bedroom versus 2 bedrooms. Matter of fact, 2 bedrooms are going to rent for more, or bedrooms den is going to rent for more, and make it even a higher end unit. So that's the one on that memo that I didn't agree with. The density, I'm right in the middle. I don't have opinion one way or another. So, but I agree with the acreage. Leslie?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, it's late.
No problem. Chris, Tony, Frank?
I'm on board with what you said, Eric, especially I went to the planning meeting with Mary. And, everything that was listed here in the verbiage is exactly on point. I agree with you about the schools. It was thrown out there, but there's no data to support the contention that it would adversely affect the school population upward. I think there was one mention in the planning meeting about a market study still to be done or desired to be seen. Attorney Mizuko, is there any progress on that?
We were saving that for the application for design review approval. We didn't think it was a requirement at this early stage, so I apologize that we don't have it at this point.
Okay. My comments are, I'd like to see something go there besides the hotel, so I'm definitely for that. Though, once again, to educate myself maybe a little bit or throw it out there, but do we consider going to the school, to the superintendent of the schools and seeing what the schools can handle, number one, and number two, are we consider, because a hotel is different from permanent residence. So how do we know, or how do we figure how many students might come into there, number one? And the same, my same question is with the fire department. At what point do they have to go to a paid fire department or have to grow? Like, how do we figure that? Or is that not a zoning issue at all? Is that something we're not supposed to consider?
All right, so Chris, I can answer a couple of those questions. First off, when we have the plans come in, that we have to get fire approval. So fire would approve it. This is just for the zone change. They'd still have to come back for the building change. And at that point, they have to get fire. They have to get all that type of good stuff. Second, on the hotel, I represented the seller of the hotel, which just transferred. And believe it or not, most of those people staying in that hotel were residents. So they were paying by the month. So they were actually living there. They weren't as transient as what you might have thought. That really the hotel wasn't even sold. It was kind of given back to the buyer, and instead of being foreclosed on, because as a hotel, it was just and a hotel and a place where people were staying there permanently paying, monthly rents. It was not surviving. So we know if it's kind of the old story with the pizza restaurant. If the pizza restaurant hasn't survived there and a new guy comes in and is making the same exact pizza, how is it going to be any different? It's going to keep on failing. So the people that were running the hotel have run hotels and still have successful hotels. And, it makes me feel like if they couldn't make this one a success, then it's that as a hotel, it's going to keep going down. So I definitely want to see something in there that's going to be better and more for our town economic wise than a hotel that's not going to be able to put any money into itself because there's just no rents there. But to answer your question, there were people living there.
Yeah.
Full
No,
time.
I agree 100%. I like the idea. I'm just wondering how we come up with the numbers of when we say that we looked at it and it's not going to increase put a bigger burden on the school systems. How we come up with those numbers, without talking to the schools about it, or do we just go ahead?
I'm going to disagree with you on this one point.
Sorry.
I think that the superintendent of the school is not going to know if we put apartments in, whether or not how many kids there. That's more of going to be like a realtor question, or somebody that's in the business that's been renting or selling these places for them to know that. The superintendent, I don't think is going to be at all qualified to answer that question that you're asking, which I think is a good question.
To that point, that's the studies that Mylone and McBroom do. They look at population studies and how they're trending upward or downward, and they look exactly at how many units, how many bedrooms and population.
Size.
Yeah. So, and there is a calculation for, with this many units, this many school kids, typically is expected to enter the school.
Okay, great. Thanks.
But also know that there was already people living there with kids. I know there were single parents there with children. So I don't even know how you take into consideration how many are already there staying.
Right. Okay, no problem. I appreciate it. I mean, like I said, I would like to see something better than what's there now for sure. So I'm just trying to figure this out myself. Thank you.
What is everybody thinking on the density? Tony?
No, for me.
I know for you, I'm undecided right now. Is
That's
there
all right.
anybody? Huh?
I feel the same way.
Undecided?
Yeah.
Is there anybody that believes that that we should make the if someone makes a motion, they want to make a motion with the density in it?
Did it again, Eric? I'm sorry.
If you weren't sure, you can always table it to the next meeting, Eric. You got time, I believe.
Yeah, I know. I mean, who's missing from this?
Mary?
And
Mary?
And Gaspar.
Gaspar?
Yeah.
Does everybody want a week to think about the density issue?
And just think about this. There's a big 25 to 40 acre parcel across the street. And what if someone says, I'm going to put in a big, residential thing out there, and now I can do 25% more units than I could before. So that's
Actually, Kurt,
the thing that scares me.
You just changed my vote, Kurt. I'm actually against the density. I think that they can go to ZBA because they do have an argument of pre-existing and not tearing down a good building. And I forgot about that one very large parcel. Does everybody feel like they can vote tonight if Kurt makes a motion?
Yes.
All right, Kurt, you want to make the motion then?
All right, I make a motion to approve partially a proposed regulation change Z-20-66. I propose that we just change the section 3.14C.1 site eligibility in the CGN zone from 5 acres to 4 acres. And that's all.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So that was all. Okay, now we're,
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
thank you, Warren. Have a great night.
You too.
5A, right? Yes. 5A, so we're going now to 5A, 19A Elbow Hill Road, proposed zone change. So this one here, I put out my, which is, my worries, which would be actually for a later date, when they come back with a new application for what they're planning on doing. I definitely wanted to limit them to times, what they're able to do and all that, but that's not for this. So here with the proposed zone change, it's either, we keep it residential or we change it to the other neighbor. So I mean, this is pretty much an open and closed one. Does anybody want to discuss it any further or just make a motion?
No, I
So
think
no
pretty
discussion.
straightforward.
All right, Kurt, do you want to make the motion?
Sure, I make a motion to approve 19A Elbow Hill Road proposed zone change application Z-20-76 to change it from an R40 zone to an I1 zone.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you all.
You're welcome.
By the way, a very interesting meeting overall. I mean, you guys covered a lot of ground. And I was particularly interested in your discussion on the Lake Candlewood zoning map issues, Nymer's Corner. There's some work to be done there.
I
I'm glad you
appreciate
do
it,
it.
Neil. We always,
And
as
by-
always, we appreciate.
And by the way, I'm gonna nominate Kurt for the Bill Shepard Award. Some of you may remember that a lot of the regulations were written by Bill Shepard for many years. Thanks, guys.
Have a great night, Neil.
Thank you.
Basically, that's it, unless somebody has something else to bring up. Fran?
Thank you.
Oh, are you kidding me, Fran?
Sorry, I'll be quick. It's only one thing. I got a complaint in the shores regarding chickens.
What?
Yeah.
Uh,
So.
This
I went
isn't
out
the
to
rented chicken, is
shores.
it?
I went
Didn't
out
we
to-
do this?
I'm sorry?
Is
Oh,
this the
no, this is
rented
not the
chicken?
rented chicken, is it?
No, nope,
Oh.
same street, but just a
Oh,
different
okay.
house. So I did some research in the regulations and there's a glitch. Uh-oh. So under Article 3 in the regulations, permitted by zoning permit, which is a permit that I issue internally, does not go to the commission. Under Section C, permitted, bullet number 4, the keeping on poultries of lots of less than 1 acre. So then it says C 3.8, and if you go to 3.8 and 2, poultry, you'll see it says B, the keeping of 1 or more roosters requires a minimum of 3 acres. Then it says the keeping of poultry on lots of less than 1 acre may be permitted by a zoning permit.
May.
So our reg says in the beginning, the lot shall contain at least 1 acre for 12 fowl. Then it says in C, it contradicts it and says the keeping of poultry on lots in less than 1 acre may be permitted by a zoning permit. So you see what I'm saying? One says they need a minimum of 1 acre, and then C says,
Yeah, but Fran, does that mean that, like, I read it as that if I have more than 1 acre, I don't need a zoning permit to keep
Right.
12 fowl. But if I have
As of
less
right.
than 1, I need to go to you.
if they have less than 1, they need to go to me, yes.
Yeah.
Right, but if I have more than 1 acre, I don't need to go to you. I don't need a zoning permit.
That's how I read it, as of right.
Is it as of right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's how I read it.
that's how I read it too.
The keeping of farm, it says farm animals, domestic animals.
And it goes back to 3.8.
So anyway, she has 0.26 of an acre. How many chickens do we want to let her have?
Well, let's get the sword out.
Well, first off, who issues the zoning permit?
I would issue the permit.
Yeah. Honestly, if we're allowed, what, 12 fowl per acre? Is that what it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And
I would start doing some math if you're going to do zoning permits then. There, Leslie's got the right number. See, she's quick with her math.
How many? 4?
Yeah.
2?
Or we'll always
Is that
go
8?
down
She has
one.
4. She has 4 right now. They're small ones. They're, she told me the name of them. They're,
Remember, there's no difference between a small cow and a large cow. Remember that conversation?
I remember that. That's right. You're right. Yeah.
What's the complaint, that they're making too much noise?
No, they don't make noise at all. That's the problem. The yard is immaculate. Everything's maintained. The coop is gorgeous, and it
They
was
sneak up on them?
I'm sorry.
They sneak up on them if they don't make any noise?
There is a chicken phobia. Some people are really afraid of chickens, by the way.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware.
small. They're almost like a guinea hen. Small. You know,
But what is the complaint?
that? She's got chickens.
Oh,
Just that she has them. Okay.
Yeah. So
I would say that just applying math, you should allow her to have 4 for a
Mhm.
quarter acre.
Mm-hmm.
so 4 is good.
So
Okay.
tell them no more chickens. And here's
What's
the
that?
crazy thing. I think we talked about before. If you go to Tractor Supply to buy chickens, you have to buy them by 6s.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a state law. You can buy chickens at 6 at a time.
Yeah. She indicated
So,
that she wanted to buy
if she loses her, she should go to kill two.
because I guess they like them made up. All right. That's all I got.
I just cannot believe that this is the 3rd time we've talked about chickens. Like, I have to be honest, when I ran for office, I never thought that I would be talking about chickens. Ever.
That's one of my biggest complaints. Biggest ones.
The one meeting was about a cow.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a cow because it was a small cow.
And it was a pet. It was a pet cow. It was her pet.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Of course, it comes from you, Leslie, right? I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Have a
Aye.
good night, guys.
Good night.
All right, thank you. Good night.
Good night.